Welcome into the Recipe Podcast, Celebrity Secrets to a Successful Life. This is our Gourmet Club Live segment, Gourmet Club Live, which means it's everything hospitality, and we're very proud to be able to bring this show to you. This is an exciting day for us because we have some really cool guests in-house, so we want to get right to it. But first, before we get started, I want to say hey to Phil Phoenix, our podcast editor and sound engineer. Say hey, Phil.
Hey, what's up?
And we have the Bobbit taking care of things, and she sets up the show, and the podcast producer. Say hey, Bobbit. Oh, she's giving us a peace sign. You see that? She's cool now. Yeah. I wish I had a camera on you. Okay, all right. That's cool. Peace sign, that's cool.
You did something cool.
Yeah. And then we have the Venus Flytrap, Christian Veras. Christian, always good to see you in studio. Say hey.
Good morning.
And we got Jay back there, our production manager. Jay, thanks for making everything happen and bringing it all together. So there you have it. That's our team. We're in-house, and we have a couple things we want to share with you before we get started. We have some breaking news that if you heard an earlier show, you already know that we were very proud on iTunes to be in the top 50 on iTunes, and we're very proud of that. So that's a lot of hard work for these guys sitting around the table. And a big thank you to our sponsors. We may as well do that right now, Jay, if that's okay with you. And go ahead and thank our sponsors while we're right here. Dunkin' Coffee, Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, the American Culinary Federation, Texas Beef Council, and Aceway Incorporated. If these are all wonderful people that help us bring the show to you, and if we didn't have them, we couldn't do that. So thank you to the listeners. Obviously, what you're doing out there is working because you just proved it. We went the lowest we went, I think, over the weekend was 38, Bobbit. 38 on iTunes, and so we're very proud, and thank you to all of those people for that. So without further ado, we want to get right into it because we have some special people in-house. We have Chef Chris Shepard in-house, and also his chef with him, Nick Wong. So welcome, gentlemen.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. So there's so much to talk about it. And
Can I ask one question, though?
Yes, sir.
First?
Yes, sir.
The Venus flytrap?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, dude.
What? I got to know that.
Yeah, it's mysterious.
It's just the old reference, the DJ from WKRP in Cincinnati.
No, but he's a mysterious guy.
I just was like, I've known Christian for a long time, so I need to know why the Venus flytrap before I start calling him this every time I see him.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Let's leave that here.
Well, he's a mysterious guy, and when he first came onto the show, he didn't know about it, and he said, I don't know, so he wanted to be mysterious. So
I like that. I can get down with that.
Yeah, that was his show name, and
My lay-low name.
yeah. So then he just
You got to have an alias, man.
yeah, and that's why Phil also has an alias. So
Yeah.
but his is more federal reasons involved.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. When I was in radio, that was the reason why.
Yeah. So he's laying low because of legal issues. But anyway, well, but Chef, let's start with that. And how do you know Christian? How do you guys know each other?
I mean, the wine world, really, for the longest time.
Yeah.
We actually competed against each other in 2006.
We did, yeah.
What in
wine.
wheelbarrow racing or no? Okay.
A lot of people don't know that. Like that Chris Chef was doing wines for Brennan's.
Yeah.
And so he went to compete. Check this out. This is how far things have gone in Houston. That at that time, somebody who's might be the best chef in the city, best known chef in the city for sure, was the wine representative for the South for the young sommeliers of the world.
Wow.
That's true. He was the winner of the region, and I was the winner for the Caribbean. So there was different regions around the country, and there was a winner from each area. And we went to Santa Barbara in California. We were under 32 at the time, and we competed against each other in the Somme thing. And it was hilarious because I hadn't seen my dad. I only saw him once a year, so I took my dad. Everybody else took their spouse or girlfriend, and we ended up hanging out outside with my dad. And the three of us kind of just fucked around because the rest of them were so intense. The competitors
it was too much.
It was over the top. Like at one point, I looked over at Chris. I'm like, "Is this for real or what?" Like these guys were like stretching before like the tasting, and we're just like, "Hey, this is a nice trip,"
I didn't really know what I was getting into, which was funny because I did somebody said, "Hey, you should do this test here," and I was like, "Yeah, man, whatever, cool," and did it, and I mean. Won it here, and then they're like, well, you're going to California now. I was like, for what?
Yeah.
And then I got out there, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is serious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Like a lot of the most people have competed since then, or like some of the master somms here in town or whatnot. But at that time, even when he was doing his cooking stuff, he knew a shitload about wine. And Still does.
Well, you're getting ready for another something going on.
That's the Iron Som. That's a charity event.
Oh, okay.
Which is super fun.
Yeah.
It's good, really good.
So Chris, tell us how did you're native Houstonian?
No. Born in Nebraska, grew up in Tulsa. Came here in 95.
95. So what brought you here?
Culinary school.
Okay.
I wanted to go to culinary school. My dad was in the oil business. He moved down here. My mom and dad moved down here a couple years before I did. And, as a young, as a young guy, like, what do I want to do for a living? And it was, all your friends are going to business school or whatever. And I could never figure out why you went to business school. Like, well, what business are you going to be in? I was like, I'm just going to business, going to college for business. It's like, but that doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah.
I want to cook, and so made the decision to move down here to go to school.
So you Art Institute, or
Yeah, I went to the Art Institute.
Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. And from then, take us down the road.
Worked at Houston Country Club for a little bit, and then
With Fritz, or
yeah,
okay,
yeah, and then I ended up working at a couple other places, but really found my home at Brennan's, and I spent 9 years there, 7 in the kitchen. Then at one point I said I wanted to. I'm doing all the purchasing for the kitchen, so I understand how to buy and sell things. And I'd already taken the first level of the Quarter MS or whatever it is, and just decided that I wanted to do the wine program because I wanted to see what it looked like outside of the kitchen. Mm-hmm. What is a guest perception? What is a guest reaction? How do you deal with somebody when they're angry? How does service actually work? Instead of like behind closed doors in a kitchen, like you just see service, mm-hmm. You're just cooking, you're, serving food, but like, what is it actually to understand what a guest needs before they know? Mm-hmm. And so that's why I did that. Mm-hmm. And then opened up Catalan and was there for like 4 years. And then after about 3, I decided it was some time for me to do my own thing. And so went in and opened up Underbelly and Hay Merchant.
So I'm sorry, Phil. Can you turn me down just a little bit, please? Catalan. Who were you there with Charles Clark?
Charles Clark. And
sorry,
Grant, yeah.
You guys were partners, or
yeah.
Yeah, and that was 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was there another investor involved there? No, just the two of you.
It was Grant Cooper and Charles Clark.
Okay, Cooper. Okay, yeah. So, was there? How was that when you decided to go in your own ways? Were there some challenges there? Is that a reason why, or would you just say it's time for me to do the thing?
No, it was. I wanted to see my vision through.
Yeah.
And I think when you work with people, it was a great experience for me. But it was just that time. It was like at some point I want to know what it's like to own a restaurant.
Yeah.
And now I understand that. Sometimes
you're
you're
trying to figure out how to get out. No,
but it was a great experience for me personally, and that restaurant specifically helped me to understand people more, and people to understand me more. And so when we opened up Underbelly, it was people were waiting on it.
Yeah.
So
I still remember. I think it was the foie gras.
The bonbons.
Bonbons. Yeah. Did you ever have those, Christian?
At Catalan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, those are smoking good. Yeah, those are.
I still get asked about that all the time.
Yeah. So that restaurant, what a cool space, and it seems to be struggling, huh? That area, that building. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, when Washington Avenue, when we went over there, it was like nobody knew it, and it was like, man, these guys are taking a risk by going over there, and then all of a sudden, it turned into the bar area, and it was just all of a sudden nightclubs and bars open up all around it, and it was just like. It was hard to drive up and down the street.
Right.
Because there was just people everywhere walking, and it was like, and this isn't, my parents aren't going to come down here for dinner anymore,
right.
And the clientele that that you're looking for or whatever isn't gonna come, and
It's a great restaurant. I love it.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
And then after I left, they reconcepted it to Copa, which I guess that I don't know what.
Yeah.
There's the one in the village still.
Yeah. It was a great. I think it was about 5 or 8 years ago. I was told, and I think it was. I guess I believe it because someone told me that Washington Ave had more restaurant permits than any other street in America, or something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah. It was. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but that was one of the stats I heard. So Chef, we have a lot to talk about, but tell us more about Nick Wong over here, and how did that relationship start, and how did you entertain him to come down and work with you?
Well, I mean, I went up and did a Momofuku Sambar takeover one night, and we met. But you left. You worked a day, right?
I worked that morning.
Yeah.
And I stayed until the end, and I remember I went out afterwards.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, come out." I was like, "Okay, yes, okay, I'll go out." Oh God, I'm gonna regret this.
But we talked a little bit, and then
What do you mean you went out? You went outside?
After dinner.
Oh, you went out
After
after.
service,
I worked morning shift and then stayed all
gotcha.
the way through to the end.
Oh, gotcha. And then you guys went out for a cocktail.
yeah, it was a long day for him.
Yeah.
But it was, it was just getting to meet the staff and meet Nick, and I guess you can kind of go from here about.
Yeah, when I left the company and left New York, I'm from California originally, San Francisco area. I did a little cross-country road trip. I've never been anywhere except for either coast, so I kind of did a little zigzag. Houston was one of my stops, and I reached out to Chef. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Houston for a couple of days. Any suggestions, any recommendations for me to go check out while I'm here?" And Chris Shepard being Chris Shepard, you roll out the red carpet, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! This is great."
It's the way it is every day, right, Chef?
It's like this all the time.
Yeah.
We've said that many times. The weather's like this all the time.
Yeah. I left Houston not thinking anything of it, just kind of continued on my road trip, got back home, and maybe a month later, shoots me a text saying, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, "Oh, just checking in." Like, "Oh, it's nice to hear from you."
Yeah.
And it was, "Hey, just want to put this out there. We have a new concept opening up, and your name keeps on popping up. Is this something that you might be interested in?" And I said, "Well, I'm unemployed and living at home with my parents and just kind of chilling right now, so all options are on the table.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's not viable right now." So I went on a little trip, and then Chris invited me back out for a week to come check out the city, and at the end of that week, it's like, "All right, let's go." And the better dudes there.
We'll talk about this a little bit. You guys can chime in together, but the restaurant concept seems to be a little bit different, at least for the philosophy behind it. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, as far as studying the people and how what the habits are and those kinds of things, the philosophy behind the restaurant?
I don't know if the philosophy of the restaurant is too different. I mean, there's no more the 150-mile restriction and just doing whole animal stuff. That was kind of different.
For those that don't know, it was Underbelly forever, and it was, I had imposed this, we couldn't really do product within or without outside of 150 miles. And, from day one, it was every time you had a steak at that restaurant, it was because we broke down the entire steer. It was only whole animal, and so it was a steer every week, 2 to 3 pigs every week, 4 to 5 goats every week, and then our poultry guy, just like whatever you have, just bring me 20 something. So sometimes it could be ducks or guineas or different breeds of chickens, and so it was a lot of restrictions that were put on it, but it was trying really just to showcase. And then also with no produce company, outside of lemons, limes, garlic, herbs, and mirepoix, it was the menu changed every day. It was a ridiculous way to do a restaurant. And it was just too big. It's 220 seats.
Yeah.
And that's a big restaurant to do that, but to do a whole animal like that, you kind of have to. But, it was a consistency thing. Some people are like, "I just wish I could have that dish again." I'm like, this is a restaurant that's based on inconsistency. And at a certain point in your career, you just say, "You know what? I want something consistent. Not so consistent, but I like change, but I don't want to do this every day." It's not sustainable for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. And so that's when we made the decision to kind of relax that local whole animal, just get good product and really focus on the cultures. And we talked about that a lot when he was down on those 5 days and, showing in the city. And it was the only person I wanted for the job.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
It was the only person I was going to talk to, really, because it's the only person I felt understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about that because Georgia James, Hay Merchant, 1/5 obviously is a big talk of the town, and then the UB Preserv and Southern Smoke. So when you made that change to get out of Underbelly, because that was a very, very successful restaurant.
Yeah, it was busy.
And it takes some balls to say, you know what, we're going to change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was going through your mind at that point? And because I can think of another concept in town that was very, very successful, and they decided to change, and I don't think that they're so successful, as successful right now. So bring us through that thought process, and how nervous were you about it?
I mean, you're nervous every day about everything, but you just got to make it work, right?
Yeah.
It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, because talking to Lindsay and about I'm not getting younger.
Yeah.
That
But
doesn't.
you look good, Chef. You look good.
It just doesn't work that way. And so, like, what's the end goal, right? What is that end? And where do you want to be when you're 60, right? Or whatever age, like. How long do you want to keep doing that? And it was one of those things that, like, I had probably been thinking about it for about a year, even before 1/5 opened. Like, how does the change work? And all of a sudden, I was just sitting there thinking about it, and it made sense to me. And I had to propose that to, first Lindsay and then Nick Fine, and like go through the list of people, like, one by one, and they're like, "That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, what are you thinking? Like, why do you even have this in your head?" And I was like, "Well, just here's my thought process, right? I mean, we can keep doing Underbelly, and 1/5 will be gone in 5 years, and then maybe we do something off of that. But when I'm 60, I'm still going to run the pass, and that's not sustainable for me in life. So." All of a sudden, this plan came together, and really, Preserv really wasn't in the plan. It was like, we'll figure out something to do with staff, and maybe we'll do pop-ups at Blacksmith and do Underbelly by night or whatever. And then I looked out, I was standing in front of 1/5, and I looked down the street, and I was like, I want that. And it was a restaurant that hadn't worked out, and it was 80 seats, and it was like, that's exactly what I want. And now it's just, I need to find that person, and he just come through town, and we kind of talked, and I was like, he's the man. Yeah, that's the guy right there. And so,
which spot are we talking about?
Preserv.
Preserv, and that's the old Post Gold spot, right?
Yeah.
That's a good spot.
Which was something else in between that.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't really.
Right, it was like an Asian spot, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Choo's.
Jimmy Choo's, yeah.
I think we have a picture of it, Jay, that we have it outside. We like to show
Oh, yeah, look at that.
We like to show pictures so our audience.
It was a Belgian place at one point, too, right?
It was Cafe Montrose.
Yeah,
it was just like
Montrose,
frites and mussels.
Yeah.
We walked into the building, and it was like, structurally it was what we wanted, but like a lot of the things behind it, not really so much. So it was a lot of work. And like, how do you get this much? How do you not have water pressure? Like, it was like coming day one. Like, how do we get our water pressure? And we figured it out. But it's something, that restaurant specifically is something that's near and dear to my heart. Because it is talking about Houston and the story of where we're at and where we're going and the cultures that exist. And I think that the food there, I say it now quite a bit, that April 1st, which was the day that we shut Underbelly down, was probably one of the hardest days for me personally. Because the last night of service, the last weekend of service, oh my God, it was so busy and it was so much fun. And we're sitting there. And we decided, like, we do it at 1/5 for the last day of service for that section, where it's just like we just cook and clean out the cooler, we throw a big party and people show up. And so we had this backyard bash going on the day after, where it was just like, because we were closing Hay Merchant for 2 or 3 weeks to redo some of the interiors, and so it was like, we got to get rid of everything. We're honestly shutting 2 restaurants down. We got to just have a big backyard bash where we're just cooking. And my my events coordinator was like, I need you to, they're dropping, the rental company's dropping off all this stuff. I need you to come look at it. I was like, yeah, I'm standing there. And then I walk back in the dining room, and Lindsay had put together a slideshow with shut down, the dining room's full, and it puts up a big, projector screen and plays Bulls on Parade, which is something touching to me. And they just did photos from
I was going to ask
over
if
the
you had
years.
recorded it, yeah.
And man, it put me to tears in front of 250 people, which is, not abnormal, I should say.
Yeah.
But
Jay, I think we have some pictures of some food, or there's the chef. There's everybody.
that's my ugly mug.
Yeah.
But then
some food as well.
the next
There it is.
day,
Yeah,
that looks good.
stop.
The next day was the greatest day of my life. One of them.
Okay.
Because it let me see the vision for where we were going.
So you mentioned in that started this conversation that I know I don't want to do this all my life, so we got to figure something out. So with an end goal. So what is that end goal?
I still don't know that. You don't know, and like you have the people that do it, and we have a great team across the board that's been with us for a long time, and everybody wants to do fun stuff and kind of push hard and do new things, and that was really the reasoning behind it, is because like we can run one restaurant, but what happens to these people that have been with you for 10, 15 years? Like what's the goal for them, and so how do they move up? And so it's really one of the only ways to do that.
So Nick, you've been down here how long now?
Just about 6 months. I moved out here beginning of April, like 3 days after Underbelly shut down.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so pretty recent then.
Yeah.
So
And the weather was beautiful, and we were like, it's like this all the time.
Hey, don't worry about summer, man.
Why was Nick your guy? I mean, what about him?
It was one of those things, like on those 5 days, it was not only was I talking to him about coming down or what have you, but it was like me learning about him.
Yeah.
And it's even, I learned that he and I have very similar thought philosophies and thought processes, and he's actually a much better cook than me, which is really awesome.
Damn.
And so it was the chicken dish that did it for me. And I don't know if we've ever had this discussion.
Nope.
We were sitting on the couch, and it was one night where it was like, man, I think we were up to like 5:30. Little bottle of bourbon, just sitting and talking, and
it's
Lindsay
good
was
that you
there.
remember. Yeah, it's good that you remember.
And I had this in my head I wanted to do this, like either crab meat fried rice stuffed chicken, because a boudin stuffed chicken is like one of my guilty pleasures of life, and I just love them. And so I was like, I want to do this stuffed chicken with boudin, or with like crab meat fried rice inside with the sticky rice. And he was like, well, I was thinking about this, like the lotus leaf steamed sticky rice that you get at dim sum, and doing that inside of a chicken. And I was like, without ever having this conversation, we're both thinking about a rice version of a stuffed chicken. We're on the same page. The thing with Nick is he may not understand all of the cultures that are in the city, but he's got a good grasp on a lot, just from working in the industry and eating out and understanding food. I can show him Southern food, because I don't think you really ever worked with Southern food at all.
No.
And so we can learn these things together, and so, but he's got a good principle base on like the cultures that are here already, and understanding, and not just that, but there's two things when we hire people that you have to look for, and it's heart and give a shit. The other stuff you can teach or learn, really. And so if you have those two things, you're good.
Copy that.
Nick, you give a shit, man.
Sometimes. Sometimes. we give a shit.
So Nick, tell us and tell the audience something about Chris Shepard that maybe nobody knows.
He is as down to earth and friendly as you think he is. I've never met anybody else so warm and so genuinely cares about every single person that works. Literally every single person that works for him. knows our name is interested in what they're doing in their life, and that's something that's brand new to me.
And that's rare with chefs. You know, truly. I mean, when you meet chefs, they might think it, but they don't always express it. There'll be chefs like when we had Jack Fox here. He got emotional talking about the first guy who was the dishwasher who ended up being the chef of that restaurant.
Yeah, he got emotional. Yeah,
but he's the type of guy that doesn't express, day to day.
That's right.
But at that moment, it's like, damn, he must have had it always in his head.
My goal forever has always been to, when you walk in the building, like everybody's working there for a common thing, right? And at the end, it's the vision that we all have. But a hello, a high five, a handshake, a goodbye you have to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. There's an emotional connection with staff that you need to have. And, as we grow, like, I'm learning new names all the time, and I'm like, what is his name again? But like, there's the eye contact and the how are you? I care.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, Chef,
you have to.
Let's talk about that for a second, and then I want to talk about the success of the restaurants. But do you see a shift in that paradigm? Because I mean, that to have everybody in the restaurant give a shit, and to genuinely want to make sure that everything is perfect for this restaurant and for my chef, as opposed to the people that are punching out, and I don't know, they're carrying other luggage that they're not vested. So do you see that at all, or do you see some changes in the ghosting of interviews or people not showing up for shifts or anything like that?
No, everybody kind of comes in. I think at the end of the day, we have a conversation about it a lot. Is that our industry is changing, and it is the largest growing workforce, and for the younger folks in the industry, like they need something good, and I have adopted in my own self that, like, I just don't get mad anymore.
Yeah, copy that.
I mean, I'll get mad, but I'm not gonna just blast people it's just, you can't do that. And
Nick takes care of that.
No, he doesn't either. He doesn't.
Not really my jam.
It's kind of in our company now that doesn't work,
Yeah,
and it's I don't ever want people to leave at the end of the night feeling like they've disappointed us or myself or anybody, and that it is what we do for a living, but it's not our lives, and that we're there to help build them.
Yeah.
And not break them down. The old idea in the kitchen of breaking people down and then building them back up, man, you can't really do that anymore. You just have to add to what they have and help from that aspect. It's like we had a conversation as there's a young cook that moved from Gourmet over onto the wok, and like, you're moving from Gourmet onto the hotline, man. You're not even going to like saute or grill. You're going to work the wok, which makes me terrified, right? And it's, don't think too much and just cook and get the motions, and that's what it is. And so Nick is going to be teaching that to him for a while, and we've adapted a policy of taking people that don't have a whole lot of not education, but not a lot of skills and have a lot of background, and then building them up, and it makes better employees.
And that
Loyal too.
That particular person you just described has 2 years, 3 years in the industry experience, or
He's got 6 months of an externship, and his family has a burger joint in.
And what are you paying that person? What are you paying that graduate right at it with what you're describing now?
Can I say that? Is that right? 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's entry level.
Yeah.
So Chef, when the James Beard, you're an amazingly successful chef. You got how many restaurants now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Four in a coffee shop.
Okay.
Partner in a coffee shop. That's not really. I don't really handle day to day in there. I just day to day walk in and get coffee. So
that's convenient, right?
Hey guys.
Yeah, that works.
Take a latte.
So, in the James Beard, I believe. I think the first James Beard award was 2014. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, because I'm very close with Hugo. We've been dear friends for many, many years. When that happens, does that kind of change your life? I mean, because it seems like it opens so many doors, so many invitations, so many. I mean, did that kind of change your life a little bit when that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have a lot more asks, to go do things around the country. And it was either food or wine or the Beard Award, but it happens, and it's all about how you deal with it. And, I mean, it's arguably one of the great things in my career, understandably. But does it change you as a person? I'd like to think not. It just gives you the ability to do more things.
Yeah. So what I want to dig down into,
and I don't have that stress anymore.
Yeah. Right.
That did we make it on the short list?
Yeah.
Or the long list?
You won the Super Bowl, so you don't have to. You get the ring now, so you don't have to.
But it's like what you do with it after that, because now I'm more focused on like that happening for our like Nick and Matt and the restaurants more so than me personally, because like that's done. Now it's their turn, and that's the biggest thing for me is like, it's great, but I want them to have that same experience.
Sure. We've got a few more minutes here. I want to talk about a little bit about the success of the restaurants, because you got 4 of them and they're all successful, and you're an amazingly successful chef here in town, where a lot of people are. I mean, Houston's insane now. Restaurant.
That's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants. I think there's 10,000. I think I saw somewhere. That can, some of them will pop up and they don't survive a year. So what's the formula? First of all, do you have partners involved, or you're now a sole guy?
I'm kind of a sole. I have a partner. Yeah.
Okay. So what is your formula? What's your secrets to success of these restaurants? If Christian and I are going to open up a restaurant, what do we need? By the way, we're not. But we're going to open up a restaurant.
Your temper sucks.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. What has to happen?
People.
Yeah.
You got to have the right people.
Yeah.
I mean, the vision of the restaurant is the vision, right?
Right.
If you can fulfill that, but it's having the people that are there every day that are vested into it and really believe in the idea and the people behind it, and to see it grow.
What about the formulas? Let's take a 100-seat restaurant, and what's the formula that we would need to, you need to have this much in your pocket, and you need to be ready to cover the rent for this many months. And you need to be able to cover the staff.
Having basically all our restaurants brand new, it's one of those things that we're growing to do that too. I think success is measured by many different things, and not always a viable or visual thing. It's like, are we happy? Are we doing it? Are we putting money in the bank? Are all the things going through? There's the day-to-day struggles, but there's the, just let's hustle, and it's really butts and chairs, but when those people are there, it's like not just food, it's service, it's everything about it, and not just being one-sided on something where the service is great, but the food is okay, or the food is great and the service is okay. Both have to be up to par on that level, and so, it's all the intangibles too. It was like parking and,
Harvey.
Harvey. Yeah, that's another one. But it's like just making sure, like, I think we have the same vision in this, like the food's going to be good, the service is going to be good, but how's the atmosphere? How's the, the little details? I'm a big detail person. So it's like, what do guests see when they walk in the building? Yeah, we see it 100 times, but what do they see for the first time? And why is, if it's creating that, the vision for what you want a guest to see. And that's the thing. Smoke and mirrors.
When you said the part about the asks, I think about that, as people get notoriety in a city and then maybe a whole state and then countrywide, and it happens quickly. I mean, I saw you on a show the other day. Ugly Beautiful, maybe was it?
Ugly Delicious.
Ugly Delicious, sorry. Ugly Delicious, and you were behind the store, and you were with the guy from Crawfish and Noodles, and you had a bunch of folks that you wouldn't expect them to be together, but everybody was talking about, and the Houston food culture as well.
Yeah.
It happens so quickly. It's like you're being asked to do all these different things. Like, how do you separate yourself from that? Like, you look at people that have like a very busy schedule, and then you're like, well, shit, Gordon Ramsay doesn't even walk by the past at some of his restaurants. You could think that because he's on TV all the time. I don't know what his schedule is like, but imagine how busy he is. How much attention can he pay to his family, to even each restaurant that he helped create? Like, does he know everybody's name that's there? It's like that. That's tough. And so where are you going to draw the line? What if somebody comes to you like, hey, let's go open a restaurant in San Francisco?
Yeah, I'm a Houston guy.
Yeah.
I don't really want to go anywhere else. Not anytime soon, at least. You know, it's not in the cards for me or us as a company. I try to be at every restaurant. If I'm in town and I don't have something else going on, I try to be at every restaurant every day. That's just it.
Wow.
And if I'm not, I feel really, really guilty about it. Like I come in and I talk to Nick and I'm like, I have to go. And he's like, I was like, I want to be here. He's like, I want you here too. I don't need you here, but I want you here. You know, and it's like, I get that and I want to be there, but I have to go to the next spot, you know? And so I would like to be able to, I mean, the goal is eventually I can spend more time with everybody. Because that's what feeds me.
Yeah.
I know that Nick is very capable and does a fantastic job, and I don't need to lurk on his shoulder. And I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be like, you need to change this, or you need to change this, or you need to do this. No, it's more of a conversation like, what do you want to change?
Yeah.
You know, what do you want? How do we make this better? And that's the goal, I think. Because like I always bring people in, I'm like, this is his restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, because it is.
Yeah.
I don't make those decisions. Nick does.
Right. So, two more questions, maybe, Chef. Then we'll let you go because I know you're busy. But what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in a kitchen? I know we all can write books on this kind of stuff. Somebody throwing something at you, or something that crazy.
I mean, that's back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you cooked in the early, mid '90s and the early 2000s, like you can always, it's always like that story of like when I grew up, I had to walk to school with no shoes on, uphill both ways, and 16 feet of snow. You know, and like so it is what it is. But I don't know. The joyous thing is when people are. You can feel the staff vibing together and they're moving together, and it's the click, you know, when the dance is happening and people are vibing, and I think those are the greatest days. And so, craziest ones are when that doesn't work. You know, it's like hard service is hard service, but when it's smooth, it's great. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I'm totally the same. Nothing more to add to that. Yeah, it's on. It's on.
All right, so Nick, the refrigerator at home is completely packed with everything. What are you cooking for dinner tonight?
Honestly, right now, if I have to cook for myself, some egg, something soup, something vegetable. I taste food at work all the time, so like my palate's kind of blown out by the end of the night, and like a lot of our food is very high acid, and like my mouth is kind of ripped up. So it's something that's very simple is very. That's all I want. Like I eat pho probably like 4 times a week. So it's very like that's my go-to.
Yeah, I mean it's like one of those things like the rice salad, like the crispy rice salad. We'll do 80 of them in a night, and he tastes every single one of them that goes out, and it's like crispy rice, chilies, and citrus, and it's like I can only imagine like I just eat one, and like he's tasting every single one. That's like that rice is just ripping your mouth apart, and then like the acid is just stinging into it. Like God, man. But yeah.
Well, listen, guys, I know you're busy, and I sure do appreciate you coming down and spending time with us. And we're hopefully all our audience, the ones that are here in H-Town or Texas, make sure you all get a chance to stop by these great restaurants and check them out. And the ones from all over the world, you got to make sure you stop by next time you're in H-Town. So, Chef, where can we find you, internet-wise, or
how can we track you?
I think it's all on underbellyhospitality.com, but I think there's links to all the restaurants on there. I don't know. Hold on, let me ask.
I think they're asking for Instagram.
Or that or websites, or where do you want people to find you?
I mean, it's PR. What do we? Yeah, underbellyhospitality.com. Mine is Sea Shepherd 13.
Yeah. How about you, bud? Where can people track you?
My
Where can they stalk you?
My Instagram account is _Nick Wong _.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, man.
Wait, where do you get? Where's your favorite pho from here in Houston?
Right now,
Shout it out.
I like Pho Saigon because it's close
Okay.
and it's pretty consistent. I haven't done the deep dive into going into all the places in Bel Air just yet. 'Cause
Yeah.
I haven't had
This
the
guy's
time
the
yet.
hardest working person I've ever met.
Really?
Yes.
That's big.
I always man, I need you not to be here at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
every day and then close the restaurant. You got to stop. And we're working on that.
Yeah, you got to work on your social life here in Houston. There's a lot to do.
Yeah,
There
There's
is.
a lot to explore.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, the
excited
city's
to
awesome.
Check it out.
Yeah,
You
whatever
could have
want.
went to the Catfish Festival.
Yeah. The Conroe Festival at Bobbitt over there.
That is one of the greatest festivals of all time.
Ah,
by the
thank
way.
you,
right?
Chef. Yeah.
I love the Conroe Catfish
Yeah,
Festival.
there you go.
I used to live up there. Come on.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
You're the only one who knew it.
Man, right on Town Square. Of course I know where it's at.
yeah. So Chef, so the Bobbitt was going for Miss Catfish. So we were. No, she
Yeah.
wasn't. Okay, all right.
This guy's always trying to put out lies.
Yeah. Well,
Always.
I just trying to get
Talking about
everybody.
me being in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But
That's not true.
but Chef, also, what's one of your favorite restaurants to go in town, other than your own, of course?
We just went to London Sizzler the other night, which was a good move, I think. Nick came in. I was at Georgia James and saw him walking in to get something to eat, and I was like, let's go get Indian food. Let's go get something to eat. And then, Hai Kang is always one of those on the top of the list. It's funny, if you just picked a culture, I could probably tell you where I like to go. But,
Crawfish and noodles is good.
man, it's
That crab is
fantastic.
good. Yeah,
The crab is,
is good.
and I always wonder, what happens when it's not crawfish season, but that blue crab is,
Killer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, listen, I won't hold you up anymore. Thank you so much for coming in, Chris, Shepard, and Nick, and welcome to Houston, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, and hope to see more of you. And so I'd like to thank the team, Phil Phoenix and the Bobbitt and Venus and Jay. Thank you guys for again making another show, and again, Chris, our guests, and Nick, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. That wraps up another episode of the Recipe Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And again, go ahead and subscribe and like and share. And also, if you leave us questions or emails, we're going to send you some swag. So we have some new T-shirts here. We're going to send you. If you go ahead and do that, we'll send them to you. And also one last thing, we're gonna thank our sponsors: Ace Way Incorporated, Dunkin' Coffee. Mills Duncan is a super cool guy. The best coffee and tea. Some amazing tea, by the way. In Texas Beef Council, Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, and American Culinary Federation. You guys are great for supporting us. So that wraps up another episode of the Gourmet Club Live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for checking in with us. And remember, you're special, you're great. Make an impact on someone's life today. See you next time.